Voodoo 1, this is Reaper 1. We have eyes on the AO. Stand by for sit rep.
Reaper 1, this is Voodoo 1. I'm in position. Do you have a visual on the target?
Voodoo 1, we've got 3 tangos advancing your position. Bearing 250. Over. Hold for target coordinates.
Copy that, Reaper 1. Standing by for ROE.
Voodoo 1, I can confirm that the asset is the center target. Repeat, center target is the objective. Weapons hot, you are cleared to engage.
Roger that, Reaper 1. Engaging center target. Tango down, Reaper 1. I say again, tango down.
Roger that, Voodoo 1. Mission complete. Nice work out there. I'll see you at the rendezvous point.
One of the things that got me into Nerf is my love for archery. I wish I could do it 24/7, but I can't be launching 500 FPS bolts in my living room. Why is that important? We're gonna get into that and much, much more today. Sniper-style blasters are not exactly a new thing. Nerf's early attempts at these long-muzzled precision shooting devices didn't exactly impress. All these blasters lacked true long-range capability due to an inherent design called open breech. This has been the standard design for most Nerf and comparable blasters of different makes and models for the better part of the last 3 decades. Open breeches come in many shapes and sizes. The most common design was a moving breech, if you can call it that. This moving chamber would swallow the dart or part of the dart while the dart door was holding the dart in place and then remain stationary right over the mag where the dart would fire from. In fact, in most open breech design cases, the dart remained right above the mag or just in front of it, making any plastic from beyond that point practically useless. In late 2010s, early 2020s, Dart Zone started experimenting with the first globally popular, online available at the time, sealed breech blasters, eventually leading up to the first sealed breech blasters available at big box stores, which we came to know as the Nexus Pro and the Aeon Pro. It was at this point in time in which the floodgates to high performance blasters were seemingly forever opened. Fast forward to late 2024, Worker decided to take this a step further and they designed the first commercially available bolt action sniper blaster. Today, we're reviewing the Worker Kunlun. Let's dive right in. All right guys, blaster comes in a basic Worker box. My model is a W0723, which is the white one. In the box, you have 2 halves of your blaster. You have the barrel in this cardboard protected enclosure. I'm assuming this is hardware here since I don't have x-ray vision. This could be hardware as well. This could be a rifling device, but again, so can this. So we're gonna get it all out of the packages just like that. All right guys, I hope I got it all in the frame. Surprise baggie number 1 had a couple of sights. Surprise baggie number 2 had extra O-rings and the hardware you need to put this blaster together. Surprise baggie number 3 had a pair of your Picatinny's, your side ones to be exact. And surprise baggie number 4 had your trusty Worker 4-line twist P-car. Now I want to take advantage that the blaster is currently disassembled because it comes partially disassembled in order for us to check out what the internals are like. Here we have the main selling point of this blaster, the famous bolt. The blaster does come with an included spring in addition to this high power spring. I'm going to test it both ways, but we'll get into that in our plinking/testing phase. You have your all metal plunger rod, which seems to be also reinforced by a plastic sleeve, what seems to be either cast or a milled catch right here built into the rod. I do like the fact that it's also rounded, but at the same time conical here at the end. This helps ensure steady guidance onto the spring every single time, so it's good for consistency. And a nice little sled here with 4 ball bearings to help the plunger tube itself, which is the part that's going to be moving, glide freely through this blaster channel. I assume this is going to be kind of like the Seagull to put together. Basically, you're going to hold this front end land on with a little bit of tension. There's not much tension in the factory spring. There'll probably be a lot more of a challenge to put it together with what seems to be 1.6. Yeah, I don't think it's a 1.8. I think it's a 1.6, which would be a really good size. Yep, it says it on the wrapper. It's a 1.6. So wonder what a 1.8 or a 2.0 would do in this thing. Yeah, let's not get carried away. Heat inserts all over the blaster. Premium metallic materials. If you watched our Seagull review, it's nothing different. The same ABS finish that we've come to love. Kunlun nomenclature right here, embossed on the blaster. Very good. I mean, the quality you've come to expect from Worker. We're gonna put this baby together. The manual does a really good job of assembling this blaster. Like I said, it just comes partially disassembled. Do not fear the nuts and bolts, my friends, or at least a visual guide on putting this together. All right, guys, very tough to fit this kind of blaster in the frame, but luckily we have 3 camera angles right here. So once you thread in your barrel, you're gonna get this barrel reinforcement sleeve, slide it over the barrel all the way till it hits the reinforcement sleeve stop, and then you're gonna tighten the built-in sleeve tightener right here. You might want to use a little bit of Loctite eventually if you're not going to be messing with this a lot. Hand tight should be good enough once you have it in your desired orientation, and of course your barrel rifling unit can just slide right over. Once the blaster is joined with these 2 bolts, your main top Picatinny can only go on one way. The bolts will align, and that's how you know that you got the right orientation. Once you got that in place, you attach your iron sights and your side Picatinnies right here, and you're pretty much done. All right, guys, once your blaster is put together, it's gonna look like this. I hope this is all fitting in the frame, by the way, because this looks colossal in my hands. I haven't measured the blaster from butt to barrel tip, but it's a lot. Your magazine is of a special design which fits flush with the blaster. It gives it a very good bolt action sniper look. I'm not sure how well this is going to translate to quantifiable needs in the battlefield. If you need a lot more ammo, you might have to do with not minding the way the aesthetic of a standard mag looks, which I think it looks okay, but of course nothing's going to look like the true flush Remington design of a bolt action classic. There you have it. By the way, something that I easily missed, but it's starting to become a standard with Worker blasters. I believe the Harrier is the other blaster that has this. The Seagull might as well. You got your Allen key right here under the front handguard of the blaster. So in case you're freaking out because you didn't find an Allen key in your little baggies to install your hardware, it's actually already on your blaster. So I thought that was pretty cool. Well, that's gonna do it for the Dog and Pony show. We should get outside and start playing around with this thing. I hope Florida weather calms down a little bit. It's been crazy raining, but we're trying to get through it. Got a few surprises for you guys in this video, so stick around. I promise it'll be worth your time. We're gonna shoot a couple rounds with the factory spring, and then we're gonna shoot a couple rounds with the 1.6 to see how the performance changes going from one spring to the other. We'll do that as well for the chronograph. Then I got some cool accessories I want to share with you guys. And if you saw our community post earlier this week, you're in for a surprise, because not only we have a couple of guests coming on that want to share their experience with the Kunlun, but if you guessed their names right earlier this week, you're gonna win a special giveaway prize that is completely independent from our 10K giveaway. Details to that will be announced in the next video. Little fun fact in case you didn't know, the Seagull's longer barrel, the 310mm barrel, fits nicely onto the Kunlun with just conveniently 20mm sticking out the front, enough to stick on your favorite P-car. We developed a T-car model exclusive to the Kunlun with the back part, as you can see, angled at 80 degrees to match the chassis of the blaster. I think it looks really cool, has a neat little SBR look to it. Getting back to the archery topic that we started the video with, I think crossbow scopes are really good for Nerf because they incorporate and increase attention to projectile drop into their optics. Lots of lines underneath the initial crosshair just to be able to gauge your distance better, and it ended up being the perfect optic I could have chosen for this blaster. I recently upgraded the optic on my crossbow. The one that it came with was just perfect. It's a 4x32. You don't need a telescope for a Nerf blaster. You just need something that matches what the blaster can do. Ideally, even this is a little bit of overkill. The addition of this scope has really magnified my enjoyment of this blaster. It might be something you guys want to look into. And on top of that, crossbow optics are, for the most part, always way less expensive than firearm optics. There you go. There's a bonus there. If not, there's always good old airsoft or good old knockoff aftermarket. AliExpress and Alibaba, you can find plenty of optics there of your choice. Don't know how long they'll last. I've had this center point for the better part of 6 years, firing a 500-pound crossbow without any problems, so there's that. But enough show and tell. I got a treat in store for you guys. We're actually going to test this blaster with 4 different configurations. We're going to do the short barrel with the weak spring, the long barrel with the weak spring. I keep saying weak spring. It's still a 1.4. It's a formidable spring. I guess we could say the 200 FPS spring. Additionally, as a bonus, I'd like to test our P-cars out to see if they substantially slow down the dart or if it's comparable to stock performance. Without further ado, let's get blasted. All right guys, for this test, we're gonna keep it simple. We're only gonna test 4 different configurations, all with the same spring, the highest level spring that comes with this blaster. That way we could test its maximum potential. We're gonna be using Worker heavies. We do have a little bit of crosswind here, so we want the most resistance to wind possible and the most consistency, which these darts essentially bring. We're gonna test the Kunlun's stock barrel with stock P-car, and then after that, we're gonna test the 310 millimeter barrel, which is a longer barrel that comes with the Seagull, also the shorter barrel that comes with the Harrier, just to see if the blaster is able to stand up for itself in a CQB configuration, but with similar long range shots. I'm also going to test both barrel configurations with the T-cars that I designed for each one, just to see if we can gain any advantages or perhaps even have a disadvantage over using the stock P-car. Without further ado, let's get blasting. There's a lot of headwind today. Gonna have to take these results with a grain of salt. I can't really feel like one P-car had an advantage over the other. However, I do find that it's impressive that I was able to hit the target at all with the 310 millimeter barrel from the Seagull and Harrier, respectively. Definitely says something about the sealing and the overall integrity of the barrel and the way that this blaster is built. All right, guys, my biggest takeaways. Let's start with the performance. Blaster is, let's just put it this way, Worker has figured out what human hands like. Once you get your hands on this kind of rubberized grip, whether it's your buddies at the local Nerf game, or you're at some kind of convention where out of darts or Worker happens to have display products, and you grab a Seagull, you grab a Harrier, you grab a Kunlun, or even one of their motorized blasters like their Nightingale, the Phoenix 2.0, etc., you're just gonna understand, you're gonna get it right away. This company focuses on ergonomics, and this blaster is no different. Even with my big hands, the grip feels very comfortable. I like the fact that it has this little rubber pad that goes right here back in the buttstock. It's that extra little touch for that tactile comfort that you get once you press it against your shoulder. Not that there's any recoil in this blaster, but for the sense of scale and simulation and gameplay, it's just nice to have that extra padding there. The cheek rest is well placed. I have no problems finding the parallax on my scope with a quick head lean into the cheek rest, especially with something simple simple, like I said earlier, a 4x32 crossbow scope. Lay your head on the cheek rest and you got your full view, no parallax issues. If you have a scope that quickly dismounts, the iron sights do not obstruct the scope's view. Even if you're not using a riser and you're using the scope flat on the rail like I am, there is no issues with the iron sights. So you could just take the scope right off, use your iron sights and plink at your heart's content. Had a bipod laying around. Conveniently, this blaster has a rail right here under the front of the handguard for placing a bipod. Comes in very handy if you're playing some kind of Overwatch position at your local or competitive game. Like I said, I love this freaking blaster. I know that a lot of people are going to talk about the fact that bolt action is just not fast enough for their gameplay style, but this blaster definitely has a specialized role on the battlefield, and it's not just looking cool. If there's some kind of game where conserving your ammo is a big deal and nobody's rapid firing because everybody's making the best out of all their shots, this is probably your blaster. It makes you focus on getting into a mechanic, a muscle memory, if you will, of taking your time to learn the synchronous technique of operating the bolt, making sure your mag is loaded, acquiring the target through your optic or your iron sights if that's what you're using. It's just a blast to use because of that mini challenge that comes built into the blaster. Sniper blasters are obviously not for everybody. Some people like the faster gameplay of SMGs, whether it's 3-shot burst, fully auto, or even pump action springers that are able to slam fire and fire much faster than having to operate a bolt. This blaster has its place and time in every game. However, that's just my opinion. I brought two people into this video that are gonna tell you what they think about the Worker Kunlun. Take it away, Gordon Sue.
Hey guys, Gordon here. So what I personally like about the Worker Kunlun is that this is a high performance bolt action foam blaster. The thing is, in the market, there's not too much of a bolt action blaster over here for you to choose. Not to mention that the quality that Worker offers over here, it comes with a full metal internals, and the performance of the blaster over here is truly phenomenal. In the package, it comes with two kind of spring. The weaker spring for this blaster is able to perform around 240 up to 250 FPS. That alone, holy moly, is amazing. And what I got over here is a 1.6 spring, which the blaster can goes up to 300 FPS. Sounds like a pretty tough prime, isn't it? Take a look at this. This over here is a 1-finger prime. Being such a high performance blaster and you are able to prime the blaster with only 1 finger, that is amazing. And you might want to take a look at the air seal of this blaster over here. Isn't that a flawless air seal out of the box? And the accuracy of this blaster over here, legendary. Hitting a target in 20 meters is not a big problem at all. With a little bit of arcing, we are talking about 30 plus meters. Overall, I would say not only that the performance and the quality of the blaster is amazing, the aesthetic of the blaster over here is more of a futuristic sniper looking blaster, which personally I don't see that much of an option in the market right now. The overall ergonomics are great. I really like the tiny little grooves over here for you to rest your middle finger over here. Oh yeah, even the grip over here is metal. The cheek rest is nice and comfortable. Overall, I would say it is nice to hold and nice to aim with the blaster. So yeah, personally, in my opinion, this is probably one of the best bolt action blaster out there right now, and I totally love it. And I guess that's all of this blaster from me. Alright, back to you, Nutnuff.
Holy moly, that's a strong index finger, my man. I'll tell you something, when you're first breaking in that 1.6 by 280 spring, at least for me, it was not comfortably 1 finger. I was tightening up my chest real hard when I was pulling back on this thing to get it going. The blaster is just truly impressive. Really appreciate you giving your opinion, Gordon. One of the things I like most about bringing collaborators on is that it doesn't matter how long we've been doing this, there's always something that somebody's gonna miss in one of their reviews. And by having a lot of us on at once, it's like the saying that says having different eyes on the prize, there's always gonna be somebody that's gonna capture something that the other didn't. Gordon pointed out some fantastic things that I didn't even think about. This metal pommel here on the bottom of the grip, it's a very typical characteristic of very high-end precision real steel bolt action systems. This middle finger groove is fantastically placed. But what do you say we bring yet another guest on board to tell us what they think about the Kunlun? This time we got somebody who actively competes at the higher levels of this sport. It is none other than Nebula's king of games. Take it away, Kale.
Hey, Not Enough Nerf, thanks for having me on, my man. I think as someone who travels a country playing in professional tournaments, I have a unique perspective on these kinds of high-powered blasters. And when it comes to the Kunlun specifically, what we have here is the recipe for the ultimate Nerf sniper rifle. I mean, it's got all the ingredients. It's high-powered, shooting between 200 and 300 FPS with the included options of barrels and springs. It's also bolt action, which is essential to the Nerf sniper aesthetic. And of course, it's got a ton of Picatinny rails for attachments like these sights, a big boy scope up here.
To the scopes, I've also attached here another aim point scope because, you know, I'm a fan of aim points, and just in case, you know, all the other scopes fail, I've got this one out here for that extra close range. I can come right up here, choke up on the weapon.
Or even a bipod, which is another sniper must-have. It does come with more pick rails that you can attach, though I've opted to go a little bit more slim with mine. And although I am still working on my review for my channel, where we get down into the details of how the blaster works, mods, and more, I can tell you a few things about it right now. First, let's talk about who this blaster is and isn't for, in my opinion. As a competitive player, I think I can say that this blaster is not for competitive play. Even though it's high powered and even though it's fairly accurate, things that make it a good sniper rifle are not so optimal for competitive play. Bolt action is inherently slower than pump action when it comes to spring powered blasters. Also, you'll notice there is no bolt on the left side, which means I'm fine if the cover is on my left side, but if I need to go to the right side, I have to expose my whole body in order to prime the blaster. And last but not least, the big elephant in the room, it's huge.
That's what she said.
And for comparison, here is my tournament blaster, my custom sawed-off Harrier, which I actually sawed off to make shorter specifically for competitive play. And this is the longest configuration on this blaster I even use. A lot of times I can make it even shorter. But all of the things that make it less than optimal for competitive play are all the things that make it really great for who I think this blaster is meant for. That really comes down to two people. One, I think you can absolutely take this to non-competitive, just regular club games and have a great time with it, really immersing yourself into the sniper aesthetic and the gameplay. It does feel super sturdy, so I'm also not worried about taking it out onto the field, but I also think the second area where this blaster shines is for shooting and plinking at stationary targets. Because this blaster is side prime, you can get lower to the ground or set this up on a table and fire, plus attaching a bipod here allows you to have very steady shots, again, for stationary targets. All things considered, I think Worker really cooked on this one, and that's why I decided to include it in my previous video, the best blasters of 2024. And I truly think it is a standout or distinct product in Worker's lineup. Now, until I finish my testing and tinkering on the blaster, that's going to be all from me. Thanks again for having me on Not Enough. Until next time, have a blast. Back to you.
King of Games, thank you for coming on our channel and providing your perspective from somebody who frequently goes out to these competitions and plays with these blasters, is able to test these systems a lot more frequently. This takes us back to a topic we covered last week. It's not always your first impression on a blaster, it's how the blaster is also doing in the long term. A year later, perhaps maybe 2 years later, as long as the blaster is still relevant and being used. Worker so far has not let off the gas when it comes to consistency in their quality control and the way that they not only present but also build their blasters. The Kunlun is nothing short of everything that I've seen that's also great from this company. We have a couple of T-cars that we developed for this blaster, not only for the CQB configuration, but also the full length configuration. I kind of didn't like how the blaster went from the thick barrel shroud down to the barrel and then back to a new diameter of what is the Worker P-car. So I developed a T-car that covers that section of barrel and the first 20 millimeters of the shroud. So it looks more like a clean transition from the shroud diameter all the way to the muzzle accessory. I thought that was a cleaner look. We also angled the back of our T-car here to match the geometry of the Worker Kunlun. I thought that was also a seamless and cool look. Links to these will be shortly in the description. However, if you do wish to window shop and check out our other Etsy items, link to that is on the description as of the date of this filming. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you're not yet subscribed, because YouTube does such a fantastic job showing you everything you like on YouTube, including all our videos, just as a gesture of support, we would appreciate you to subscribe. It's free and it's the only way we're accepting support right now. We don't have a membership or a Patreon right now. I haven't gotten around to that. So liking this video if you found it informative and subscribing to the channel is hugely appreciated. We're very grateful to have you in our community. That's it for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay blasting, foam fam.